Welcome to episode number 58 of Pure Talk Fanatics. I am here with my co-host Chris Kern, and we have a ton to cover this episode as the Maui Invitational Battle for Atlantis uh, passed by, and there's a lot to take away from it. And and later in the episode, we will preview the ACC, SEC, and Big East and Big 12 Challenge, and much more.
Yeah, so we got a lot of good games this Thanksgiving week, college basketball, and then
Yeah,
just so many good games coming up this week. And there's also we won't get into these games as much, but some of the conferences are starting to get into conference play a little bit before Christmas. Some of these conferences do, so a lot of good games to look forward to.
so let's begin with the Maui Invitational. That was a fun tournament. I felt like Purdue was very physical offensively, and they definitely did a good job with getting what they needed to get done.
They did a really good job both their games because the Tennessee matchup was just ugly physical basketball game. They threw a lot of different stuff at Zach Edey,
Hmm.
and he started the game like 0 for 6 or something from the free throw line. I don't know when he ended, but like he shot that game. He got started. He stayed comfortable despite missing a lot of free throws early. He had a lot of
Hmm.
lot of numbers that game, and I felt like the guard play was pretty good. Um, Fletcher Lawyer had a couple big games. At least one huge game. Maybe it was just a one. I think it was against Tennessee. And then Braden Smith made some plays. They got the contribution from kind of the role players that they needed to really win that tournament. Because I mean, Zach Edey was phenomenal, but they got good play from some other guys as well. And they beat three really good basketball teams because they definitely had the toughest path to the Maui title of the top teams. And I mean, they beat Gonzaga, Tennessee, and then Marquette, three teams who have played good basketball to start the season, honestly, and Purdue beat them very, very well. They beat, and like there's a lot of different matchups and different styles that these teams played. And Purdue found a way to get it done in all three, which was super impressive. And they've definitely been the best team to start this college basketball season through the first month.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to leave out how well Marquette played. Um, I felt like their defense gave it their all in their championship game. And I'm just looking at the stats, and I think Tyler Kolek played amazing. I'm, the stats are just loading. Um, Tyler Kolek had 22 points with 7 rebounds, with 6 assists, and Iguodala was amazing also, with Cam Jones being a great addition to the offense.
Definitely, Kolik's probably the best point guard in the country, I would say. And but Iguodala, well, he was big in the whole tournament. He was really good against Kansas. Had a great matchup against Hunter Dickinson, and he did pretty good against Edie and Purdue. Um,
Mhm.
but like he's a fantastic player, and he's going to be a difference maker for them. And you mentioned Cam Jones, and I think they have the pieces around those two to be really dangerous. And we'll see what it looks like for them the next coming weeks. But this is a really good basketball team.
Mhm. So let's go to the Battle for Atlantis. That was a really fun matchup, and I'm really happy with the turnout with my Villanova squad. um, yeah, I really liked how much physical they were against North Carolina. Um, I wrote down some notes. Eric Dixon had a career high, dropping 34 points with 10 rebounds. He was 9 of 6 from the field uh, and he was 3 for 3 in the 3 point range, and he was 5 for 5 at the line at the half, going into the half. Uh, I felt like he and Justin Moore just took over that game, and they really made things look easy. especially offensively.
Definitely, yeah. I felt like it was Dixon against North Carolina kind of taking over. You mentioned Justin Moore; he was been big in some spots. But one thing I really liked, it was definitely. I mean, Dixon stepping up is huge, and but I think I liked against Memphis and some of the other games as well. But just from that game specifically, it was like the whole team effort. All the guys I felt like played really good basketball. All the 7, 8 rotation guys they've been going with, and that allowed them. They were it was probably hit 30 at some point. They ended up winning by like
Mhm.
15, 16. But they really were very good, especially on the defensive end. Obviously, Memphis made some mistakes, made shots, turnovers, whatever. But like Villanova was a big part of that, and they played really good, solid basketball on the third day in a row. Is That's never easy for teams to do. So great for
Mhm.
them to be really just be out, be the aggressor, and play great basketball to finish off that tournament after an overtime win against North Carolina the day before, which isn't coming back from that, all the energy it took to win that game, coming back and really starting fast against Memphis was super impressive to me.
What did you think about TJ Mama and uh, how Mark Armstrong did?
I liked what TJ did. He didn't shoot the ball great, but I think he'll get better at it. I would need to look at past year statistics to see, but like didn't shoot great, but I think he played okay basketball. Nothing crazy.
Mhm.
Armstrong, I thought did some good things because I didn't expect as much from him coming into the season as some of the new guys, but he's a guy who's is this his second year at Nova? Do you know?
Um,
Get third,
I forget what he is.
but he's been there before, and a lot of these guys haven't. Is
Yeah.
kind of the point in it. But I felt like he played solid basketball and just he just contributed and kind of fits into what they need because you don't need because Mamba's kind of a guy who tries to make plays. You got a lot of different guys who can score, but I think Armstrong can score as well. He hits a few shots a game, but having a guy who can kind of just kind of settle things in and kind of just fit
Hmm.
in with kind of some of the other star players, if you want to say, is big. And I think he did a good job doing that.
Hmm. I think Villanova was really good at the rim protection, and especially in those last two matchups against UNC and Memphis, they really locked in and they limited a lot of potential good game winning, game changing opportunities for Memphis and UNC. And I think that since they are now ranked, they seem to be handling it well with a rusty start.
Definitely, yeah. Just continue to get better as a whole. You mentioned interior defense. Baycott didn't. I would need to look at the stats, but like he didn't. I don't. He didn't shoot well at all or score much. So they really did a good job with that. But just yeah, the collective effort it took to get better on the defensive end and helping with the interior rim protection. And just don't let easy shots happen inside. Dixon's not like super tall guy, but like he's got a good frame, so he can handle the zone in there pretty easily against
Hmm.
most guys. But just that's definitely impressive to see Baycott not. Baycott's one of the best bigs in the country. Came back to kind of try and revitalize North Carolina after a very disappointing season last year, and he's played well to start the season, but he didn't have his best game against Dixon and Nova. So kudos to them for that. And
Hmm.
we'll see how they can keep this up going forward. They got a couple tough games coming forward for Nova, so we'll see how this shapes up.
They play tomorrow against St. Joe's, who is 4-2, and then they start off the month of December against Kansas State.
But that'll be good, and I'll be there for that one. So excited for that one. I think there's possibly K State getting a couple guys back who haven't played yet this season. So we'll see how that matchup looks. They've struggled a little bit to start the season, but road test, a big atmosphere. Early December is kind of when we start getting rolling into the basketball season after some kind of past football. There's a little bit we still got both for football, but basketball really getting rolling. And I think it'll be a big game for Kansas State. So expect a tough atmosphere there for Villanova. We'll see if they can get a win.
I'm I'm just looking on the ESPN app, and ESPN has Kansas State favored in this.
It's really interesting. I get the home court factor, but I would definitely pick Villanova, especially with
Yeah.
how they played last week. We'll see. We'll see how that predictions look in a week from now. Both teams
Hmm.
still have some games, but definitely gonna be a great matchup.
I'm going to be like six 6 days before I fly down to Florida. Um, I'm really excited and pumped to watch the Villanova at Creighton game.
That's gonna be a fantastic game. Two
Yeah.
two of the best teams in the Big East to get conference play started off like that. That's pretty crazy, and it's not going to be easy for Villanova to go to Creighton and win. That
Hmm.
Creighton team is one of they had a disappointing loss against Colorado State recently last week, but they're still one of the best teams in the country, or they could be one of the best teams in the country. We'll see if they can bounce back and get going into December as we head into conference play.
I know their last game they had really bad uh, performance against Colorado State.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
just
do you think that affects them with the rest of the season?
don't think so. I think it was more of a fluke, and just Colorado State doing a really good job. Colorado State's been a really good team so far this season. They haven't lost yet. They're ranked now, so big time performance for them. But they just dominated. If you look, I don't know if you watched any of Thanksgiving morning, so a lot of other sporting events on, so kind of under the radar, but definitely was a fun game. And just looking through the box score, you can see Trey. Like I don't have it pulled up right here, but Trey Alexander, I know made one shot on like 15 attempts or something. Um, Shireman was like 4 for 18-ish or something like that. Like the two guards were terrible, and Cal Bueno didn't have a big game either. So their stars just didn't perform how you need against a good basketball team in an interesting environment, and it just didn't work out for them. I didn't get a chance to watch it. Don't want to dissect it too much, but just from knowing their team, the players, and seeing that box score, it could be a little bit concerning because you need somebody to step up in those tough games. But bad games are going to happen from time to time, so there's no reason to really change what we think about this Crane team yet, unless there's a couple more bad games in the near future. I wouldn't be too concerned.
So moving on to the next invitational, the ESPN Events Invitational. That was a really good one. In the semifinal game, FAU played Texas A&M and beat them by 7. And that was a really great game.
That was a fantastic basketball game. I watched most of that one. It just
Mhm.
FAU shot the ball extremely well. Their star players, Janelle Davis, Elijah Martin, were both fantastic. They were missing a couple guys. Nick Boyd and Rosado were out. Rosado came back in the next game, but they were missing some key guys for them, and they played great basketball. They coming off that bad loss to Bryant and coming into this tournament and being able to win it and kind of get their momentum back, get their mojo back, and it was just a very impressive performance because Texas A&M played really well. Wade Taylor made so many big plays. They made big shots. They didn't. I mean, they shot the ball pretty well too. But when FAU shoots, it it was over 50% from three. Like they made so many shots, and you're just not going to lose many games when you're shooting the ball that well. And they got a great effort from Texas A&M to kind of rally back in the second half, make it super competitive down the stretch. But FAU never really cooled off, so it was just too much to overcome. But super impressive performance by them. I don't know if they'll shoot that good again, but this is a really talented basketball team, as we saw last year, and they made the
Mhm.
Final Four, and they're more than capable of being one of the best teams in the country again this year.
Speaking of FAU, I know that they play in the Field of 68 tip-off um, tomorrow night, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that matchup.
Who do they play that game?
I'm checking right now. They play 6-0 Liberty.
That's a really good matchup because Liberty's always one of the best mid majors in the country.
Yeah.
They've been in the NCAA tournament a lot recently, and that's gonna be a fun matchup. Two of the kind of the best mid majors. Mid majors is kind of used loosely termed, but it's really good teams. I don't know as much about Liberty's team as in the past, but they've been building that program the right way. They always have good players, so I'm super excited to watch that one and see how FAU holds up in a tough game coming off a big tournament win that they just had. They got to find a way to come back. I believe it's a home game. Come back, win that game, even if it's not at home. Come back, get a win, get a big win against a really good team, and keep the momentum rolling. Because you don't want to go through that big week they just had, come home, lose, all the momentum just kind of goes out the window. You want to keep things rolling and continue the momentum because they're in a spot where a couple bad losses here can really. I don't think they're too good of a team. I think to miss the NCAA tournament, but seeding matters a lot. You don't want to be an 8-9 seed again like they were last year. And they have a much tougher schedule this year, so they have the opportunity to really avoid that. So we'll see how it goes for them. But this is you want to come back and get a big win and keep the train rolling for them, and I think they will do that.
I'm just seeing where the game is being played. It is being played in Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay, yeah. So the home game for them. So that's gonna be a big atmosphere against a good opponent. So, but
Yeah.
I think they'll get done.
So one more thing I wanted to mention. FAU. I really loved how Elijah Martin played for FAU. He had 25, 7-1 in their semifinal game. And he's just a completely different player when it comes to those big games. And I'm really interested to see how he does against Liberty tomorrow.
Definitely. Like this is a really talented basketball team, but he's the guy who's really the NBA prospect from this team if they had a guy, and that's why he tested the waters. He came back, and super excited to see what he can do because he's kind of he's a matchup problem. A lot of teams don't have a guy on the wing that can kind of match up and defend him. So we'll see how it looks moving forward for them.
So let's move on to preview the ACC SEC Challenge. I know that it starts tonight with some good big games. LSU at Syracuse, Mississippi State at Georgia, Miami at Kentucky, NC State at Ole Miss, Clemson at Alabama.
Some really good games tonight, definitely. Like Clemson's been playing pretty good ball to start season. Alabama has a couple tough losses. That's a really good game I'm looking forward to. Alabama has brought in some new pieces, see how they kind of just continue to mix in and see how just Clemson continues to get better. See, that's a big test for them. They haven't played many tough games yet, or any tough games really. So excited to see how that one looks. But the big one tonight's definitely Miami, Kentucky. Two teams who have played really good basketball to start the season, and a chance for big wins. And do you know where that game's being played at? I believe it's at Kentucky. I'm wrong, but
yeah, it's at Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay, yeah. So Kentucky chance at home to beat a really good basketball team. Miami still kind of find their way. They lost a couple key guys from last season, but they're off to a hot start. In Kentucky, they had a tough loss to Kansas a few weeks ago, but they're playing really good basketball to start the season. We'll see as they start to get healthy, how this new team looks, but super talented guards. And Troy Mitchell's been good for them inside, so we'll continue to see how they work. But that just so many talented players in that Kentucky Miami game. I'm super excited for that one.
So what do you think about the OSU Syracuse game?
I'm interested to see how that one. I watched a little. I don't remember who I watched. I haven't watched LSU play this season. I don't think. I might have. I don't remember. I know. I forgot who I watched Syracuse against, but just kind of seeing how they did some things. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head who they played, but I was watching them. They did a lot. I mean, it's different seeing Syracuse not in a 2-3 zone all the time. It's different than we're used to with Jim Boeheim coach teams, but seeing them. Oh, they were in the Maui Invitational. That's why I saw them for sure. I watched them. Like, yeah, they played Tennessee and Gonzaga. I was like, I knew I saw them in some big events. So yeah, they just. It's hard to judge them. They lost some tough games. Like those are really good teams that they will play Tennessee and Gonzaga. Like it's just tough. So hard to judge them too much. But they just didn't have the tough. Like Judah Mintz is a stud. JJ Stallings. Like they have talented guards. It's just like they don't have a lot on the wing. Like they have some solid players, some good size inside. It's just they didn't have the team to compete against the elite teams. So a team like LSU is a good basketball team, good program, but they're not like a super elite team. So we'll see how they get matched up against maybe a similar opponent. And then for
Mhm.
LSU, they've lost a couple. They haven't played. They won at Wake Forest, a good win. Um, well, that's probably a neutral court game, but they've lost a couple games. Nicholls State at home is not a good loss for them. So we'll see. Big opportunity for both teams, though. It's kind of the point I'm getting into. But two teams who have kind of been up and down a little bit to start the season, but chances for a big win against the power conference opponent can really help jumpstart your momentum heading into December in conference play, which is really what matters. And even though these teams aren't super talented teams, like these are good wins that you want to get on your resume if you want to make the NCAA tournament.
Mhm. I know tomorrow's slate is great as well. Some games that came to mind was Duke at Arkansas, Tennessee at UNC, and Texas A&M at UVA.
I'll start with Texas A&M UVA is really interesting to me. Um, the Virginia, I have been super impressed with to start the season. They did just beat West Virginia a few days ago, which was impressive. But they just haven't. The loss to Wisconsin wasn't even close. They were really bad in that game. We're used to low scoring games with Virginia, but they lost by 24, it looks like. Like they haven't been where I wanted them to be. And since Reese Beekman can be more of a scorer for them moving forward. And
Mhm.
on the flip side, we talked about A&M a little bit already, but I was really impressed with them in that tournament they played. The only loss they've been is Florida Atlantic, who's been fantastic. So I think Texas A&M is going to be able to go into Virginia, and I think they're going to be able to run their offense. They're not going to be able to get up and down the floor as fast because Virginia's going to control the pace. It's what they do. But I think A&M has the playmakers and scores that they're going to be able to win this game. And Virginia's going to have to find a way to score more than they have this season because I think A&M can get into the 60s, push to the 70s, which isn't easy to do against Virginia. But I think this offense and the playmakers they have can do it. So I think Virginia's going to have to find a way to score the basketball. I just don't think they can.
Mhm.
But A&M, it's going to be a different type of test, and they've played this season a really defensive team. It's going to be a different type of ball game than they want to play. So how do they handle that pressure and adversity if they fall behind a little bit or something? It's going to be interesting. But I definitely think A&M got the upper hand in that one.
So before we move on, what do you think the outcome will be in the Tennessee game?
I don't know, just definitely some good matchup for sure. North Carolina, Tennessee, just um I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting to see because Tennessee, we saw how they defended Zach Edey in the Maui Invitational. Do they employ a similar style against Baycott? I don't know if they. I don't think they will. I think you'll definitely be physical with him. You have the depth if you foul, but the guard plays really an interesting matchup. They've done a couple of different lineups. The Kai Zeigler came off the bench some games he started. He's playing heavy minutes either way, but they have some different matchups they can do. I'll be interested to see how they defend North Carolina's guards. Um, it'll be a great matchup. I could see this one going either way for sure. But yeah, I'm super excited for that game. That's probably the game I'm most looking forward to for this event, for this challenge, honestly.
Yeah, that should be a great one tomorrow night. Um, and to move on, I don't know if you want to catch on the Myrtle Beach Invitational.
Not too much. Who won that tournament again? Do you have that pulled up? Stop your head. I don't remember. I get them all confused, honestly.
Was it Vermont? Oh, it was might have been Liberty.
Liberty won that one.
I think so.
Okay, yeah. So we talked about Liberty already. I didn't get to catch any of those games, but yeah, they're playing good basketball. Liberty is.
Hmm.
So excited. Let me pull up the schedule, see who they played Vermont in it, I think. Yeah, okay. That one was a week before. Okay, yeah, I remember watching that one. 'Cause they beat Wichita State too by like 20. And
Yeah.
That was Wichita State's only loss. They've been kind of up and down the past couple years, but that was a really good performance for Liberty. Because like not super high power competition, but they beat a solid Wichita State team. They beat Vermont's always really good
Hmm.
team nationally, like in their conference and stuff. And like there were some good teams in that tournament. So some really good mid-majors and some of the most popular ones. So the Liberty got a good win now, and I think they have a lot to be excited about moving forward into a big matchup. We already talked about Florida Atlantic, and we talked about it from Florida. I talked about it from Florida Atlantic perspective a little bit, but this is a really big chance for Liberty to really get a marquee win on their resume and keep building towards conference play, where they're going to be a heavy favorite probably in that conference year.
Mm-hmm. So I would like to give you some time to talk about your KU team.
Definitely, yeah. Touched on Maui from a different perspective, but Kansas just you talked about Marquette a little bit. You like the way Cole kind of did it all, kind of runs the offense. Iguodala really did a good job
Mm-hmm.
inside, and just that the presence that they brought was just a lot for Kansas to overcome. Marquette just had a lot of guards that could create with kind of the tough matchup and score. But the one thing from KU's perspective that I mean the role players, it's up and down with some of the new guys, but they'll get over that. But the one thing is the turnovers have been a lot more than you would like. They're trying to be really particular with how they run offense, get to their spots, run sets, but you also have to like sometimes just take not every shot's gonna be perfect, wide open, like run sets. It's led to some bad turnovers from like their best players. McCullough and Harris have both turned it over way more. At least McCullough turned it over a lot more than you would like. Um, and just they just get sloppy on offense sometimes. It's gonna be expected. They don't have a lot of spacing, a lot of shooters on the floor. But just a little disappointing them from that. But I mean, this is a really good basketball team. They played great to start. They played not great. They played really good to start the season. Despite that, beating Tennessee was not easy in Maui. They already have the win over Kentucky, and Marquette's probably been the second or third best team in the country, without a doubt. The other, I'd say Purdue, Marquette, and Arizona are the top three right now. The way they played, I think they're ranked all the top three too. But anyway, Marquette's just a great basketball team, and I think there's a little bit of wake up call for Kansas. They just there's no reason they can't be one of those elite teams as well later in the season. But like they're just not quite there yet. They gotta get a little more familiar with each other and find a way to get better on both sides of the ball. And I think they will. So I don't think there's any reason for concern. But overall, a good first month of the season. But we talked about it a little bit. We'll get into it more later. But a big matchup this Friday against the
Mm-hmm.
reigning champs, Connecticut Huskies, who have been pretty good to start the new season, despite a lot of question marks with that roster coming back.
Yeah, that should be a great one on Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll definitely be tuning into that one. And hopefully KU can pull it out. I'll be rooting for them.
Hope so, man. That would be a big one. I guess that's a tough game, but it's gonna be exciting.
What's the betting line for that one?
It's not out yet. I'll
Uh,
continue to watch it. I would guess. I think KU being at home, you have to give them a little edge. I
mhm.
think. I don't. They probably have been a home underdog in ever. Like they've probably never been a home underdog in the Middle South, or at least since I can remember.
Yeah.
In like, oh, I don't know. It's probably been a long time. I have to look that up. But I think on a neutral court, you would. I think unobjectively, I think Connecticut would be a slight, like super small favorite on a neutral court with how they started the season. But also, like Kansas was preseason number one, so you have that factor. But I think it's pretty much a 50-50 either way type of game. Like it could go either way. And I assume, yeah, KU gets a point or two favorite because they're home court, and Allen Fieldhouse is just such a tough place to play.
Mhm.
But it's going to be as tough a pick of a game to make as probably we'll have all season to me.
Uh, how do you feel about the Big 12 Big East Challenge?
A lot of good matchups in it because this one lasts a lot. Like it takes like a week because it doesn't start till tomorrow. There's a few games tomorrow, but like some games aren't till next week. But I think it's gonna be awesome. My two favorite conferences to watch, the two best conferences in the country. Both of our teams are involved, so it's gonna be exciting for us to follow. Some really good matchups. It's just gonna be interesting to see the depth of the Big 12, how they fare against some of the teams in the Big East, and just it's exciting. Some really good matchups. Um, But just super pumped because we got Texas Tech Butler. I think Thursday kicks it off, and then Creighton Oklahoma State's that day as well. So like some really good games to watch. But like it's here. Then Friday we got a couple more, and just a lot of really good games. See how most of the teams competing, I think, are the old Big 12 teams, and then Houston is in it as well against Xavier. So
Mhm.
St. John's, West Virginia, that was a solid one. See how St. John's is playing. They've Rick Pitino's first season. Not off to the best start, but they're still playing okay basketball from when I've watched them. So definitely, I mean, there's just a lot to look for. A lot of good games. TCU
Mhm.
Georgetown's on Saturday, and then I think it ends Tuesday with. There's a few games next Tuesday as well because we already talked about Villanova's against K-State, but we also have Providence at Oklahoma and then Seton Hall at Baylor that day. Two teams. Oklahoma's fantastic start to the season. Not a lot of expectations for them nationally or even in the conference. I'd have to check, but they'll probably pick towards the bottom of the conference. And then Baylor is off to a great start. Both those teams at home in those games. So big chance for a lot of these teams to get big wins against quality opponents in the non-conference because both these conferences are incredibly tough to win in. We've seen that over the past few years, but they'll have plenty of chances for resume wins. But if you can get a big win like this out of conference for a lot of these teams, that can go a long way to helping your resume status and also just help with momentum and confidence. Getting big wins against non-out of conference teams can help you get the momentum going into Christmas and then really get rolling into conference play after that. So super excited for this challenge, and I it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. I see a lot of home games for the Big 12's top teams, so it'll be interesting to see how the road teams fare. But I expect it to be pretty much this. I would expect it to be like high five or six wins for the winner conference maybe, but I expect it to go pretty much down the middle. But we'll
Mhm.
see if one conference kind of holds up and gets these wins more. But I'm super excited to see how these turn out.
The 1 second. The St. John's West Virginia game should be interesting.
That's a really good one. Two teams who up and down. West Virginia has been a little shaky. I have not been impressed with them at all. But winning in Morgantown is not easy.
Mhm.
So I think they can find a way to get it done. But St. John's also they have some pieces, but didn't look the best in their tournament. They played them. Did they play Myrtle Beach as well? No, they played in the Charleston Classic. So I mean they've been up and down a little bit too, but we'll see how that turns out for them. Super excited for that matchup.
Before we move on to our bets segment, do you have anything on your mind to recap or preview?
Well, thanks. So I think we hit most of the big ones for this
Mhm.
week. We got all the challenges and just kind of see how these shape up, see all these conference challenges shape up. But I think they'll give us a better idea of where a lot of these teams are at heading into conference play. And I mean, we'll have conference games to discuss next episode too, because I believe that the ACC has a few conference games this weekend. From what I've seen, I assume the Big East gets underway quickly, and the Big Ten probably has some soon as well. The Big 12 doesn't start till later, but a lot of conference games getting rolling, and these challenges between the power conferences are always super exciting. So a lot to look forward to this weekend. Definitely a lot of big games.
Mhm. So I know you and I talked about our betting segment, and we have a new thing where each week, each episode we will pick five games that are the best games of the week, and you and I will pick and then see how many we get right, and we'll definitely keep track sometime maybe later in the day or later in the week. And I'm not sure how to describe it, but we'll get it done.
Definitely, yeah. You just want to. I don't. By the way I texted it to you is definitely not. I didn't text like the home team first or second,
Hmm.
so you might. I'll double check that, so we know where each game's being played. That's a big factor in these games.
Okay.
So yeah, we use. We can just kind of, do you want to go like game by game and pick them together, and we can talk about 'em
Sure.
for like just a quick second?
Yeah, let me just get it up. Okay, so the first game is Kentucky against Miami. Um, that should be a really tight one. Um, I really like how Kentucky is playing in transition, and uh, yeah, I just feel like they're much more physical in the paint, and I feel like this could go a long way for Kentucky.
I definitely agree. Kentucky's a 6.5 point favorite, so like they've given them a big boost at home. They love how Kentucky's playing, and like they've been great to start the season. It was just insane comeback by Kansas to find a way to steal that game in Chicago, or they'd be undefeated and probably ranked in the top five. So
Hmm.
like this is a huge matchup, and I think the consensus would probably feel like Kentucky's playing better than Miami to start the season. Miami hasn't really played super tough competition yet, so going from that, they played some good teams for sure in some of the tournaments, but going from that to an atmosphere like Web Arena and this kind of like just a huge game, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Um,
Hmm.
so big players on both sides. Rob Dillingham, Shepard for Kentucky, some guards who played really well. And Reeves has been really good. Like big time player for them in the past. He's up and down a little bit. But for Miami, it's been all like Nigel Pack's kind of taking the load as the guy. You got Pablo O'Meara, Matthew Cleveland, a big transfer for them. Like they have just four studs, like four guys. O'Meara is four. He's fourth on the team with 15.8 points. Pack has 16. Cleveland 16.8, 18 for Pablo. Like they have four studs, and like Joseph has been a good role playing guard for them as well. Like they have guys who can really play, and they have the
Hmm.
star power to compete in a big atmosphere like Web Arena.
So I am going to take Kentucky money line over Miami.
So yeah, this is a tough one. Um, all the reasons I talked about, those big time players, the vets for Miami, I want to pick them, but
Hmm.
I can't do it. Kentucky, I think you got to go with Kentucky at home. Just you mentioned the pace and the physicality they've played with, and just because like they've been undersized, but like just they still like the athleticism and physicality was on full display against Kansas, and like they were fantastic with how they were the aggressor. They they were the ones who like the tempo was at their pace.
Hmm.
Sorry, I was blanking on what word to use, but like the tempo they wanted, they played it. They forced the issue. Like they did what they wanted in that game, and I think they can do it against Miami. And I think they'll win this game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're keeping track of your bets at the moment. I'm just writing down my
I'll
picks.
track mine.
Okay, we can talk about it off air of like how to track it on
That's good.
our Twitter page.
Yeah.
So our next game is Colorado at Colorado State. This one should be a very intriguing game. Uh, I think Colorado State has the edge. I really like how they've started out the season, and I think this could be a heavyweight battle between Colorado and Colorado State, but I think Colorado State will win this game.
This is a really good matchup. Colorado had a lot of they have talented freshmen. They have some veterans. Tristan De Silva has been really big for them. The freshman Cody Williams, he's um, Jalen Williams from the OKC Thunder's younger brother. He was one of the top recruits in the country coming in. He's been pretty good to start season. Definitely seen his talent, and I really like how Colorado State's played Isaiah Stevens, one of the best guards in the country, and I think he's going to start to get noticed as such. But
Mm-hmm.
I think Colorado wins this game. Actually, I like their size, um, the athleticism that they have on the wing. I think can give Colorado State some problems. I think they have the guys who can defend Isaiah Stevens better than like Creighton could.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of compare another really good team. in Creighton, how Colorado State was able to beat them. But I'm interested to see how Colorado State can defend that because like Cody Williams is really lengthy athleticism. Tristan Da Silva, like they have guys who are kind of big wings, can kind of make plays, score the ball in all different ways, and I think that provides some issues for Colorado State. But it is in Fort Collins at Colorado State. They have the home court advantage. This rivalry game, like it's going to be intense. Like the football game that was played a couple months ago was insane. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere between these two. Just huge game for both of them. Both two really good basketball teams. I'm going Colorado though.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Colorado State.
Nice.
So that game will be crazy, and I'm really excited to text back and forth with you during that one.
Oh, it's gonna be a good one. I got nothing tomorrow night. I got a lot of basketball games I'm working, but tomorrow night I'm off, and there's so many good ones to watch. I'm excited.
I'm actually working the Princeton women's basketball game tomorrow at 7.
Nice.
They play Seton Hall.
Oh, good stuff.
So I'm hoping to be back home maybe like a couple minutes after tip off of the Colorado State game.
Nice. That'll be a good one though.
Yeah. So our next one is Duke, Arkansas.
Duke Arkansas is gonna be a really good game. Arkansas struggled a little bit to start the season. They already have 3 losses, which is whatever, but like they just I don't know. The UNC Greensboro loss is really interesting. Like that was a bad
Mhm.
loss. And then they beat Stanford by 3 points. And Stanford is a team that was terrible. Like they have been really bad to start the season. So they lost to Northern Iowa by 20. They lost to Michigan. They lost to Santa Clara. So like they've lost to these good teams. But like it's just been really underwhelming. They've lost 4 or 5. So Arkansas losing 3 of their last 4 is really concerning. But I mean, this is a talented team. They brought back some guys, but there's the big question mark is they don't have. I assume Trayman Mark's not playing. He's a transfer from Houston. He has been just an absolute stud to start
Mhm.
the season. He's been the bright spot for them. I'll have to check. He's averaging 18.4 points per game. He had at least 30 against North Carolina. He had 34 and a 15-point loss. He had half their points basically. And without him, It's I have to pick Duke. I don't. Maybe we could have got better, but like at Arkansas is always a tough place to play, so you got to give them a chance. It's gonna be a big atmosphere, a tough game
Mhm.
for Duke, but without Trayman Mark, assuming he can't go, I think Duke has to be the pick, and that's who I'm going with.
Mhm. And oh, before we go to the last one, I decided to pick Duke.
Nice.
Uh, so our next game and last game of the list
Believe
is
I believe we still have Tennessee, North Carolina, don't we? Or did we pick that already?
I, I I'm not sure. I think we did. Did we?
I don't know. We talked about it earlier, but I don't know if we made
Oh,
predictions. I guess we
oh,
can say them real quick because we already talked about it.
sure. I picked North Carolina.
All right, and then I'm going with Tennessee. Oh yeah, because we talked about it when we were just previewing the challenge for sure. I don't know if we picked,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like Tennessee. We've talked about their physicality. We've talked about this from both sides. But yeah, I'll go
Mhm.
Tennessee. You got Carolina.
And the big one on Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, UConn Huskies visit Kansas.
This really is a tough one to pick. Like honestly, we've already talked about these teams in this game a lot, so I'll get to it quick. I'm picking Kansas strictly because of the Allen Fieldhouse factor. If this was on a neutral court, I would pick UConn, truthfully, right now. But in Allen Fieldhouse, this team finds a way to win somehow, usually. So I got to go Kansas. But if UConn wins, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Um, I think I'm going to go opposite and pick UConn.
I don't blame you. The guys they brought back from last season have taken steps. They've taken jumps in their game. They've gotten better, and like they still have the star power to compete with any team in the country, despite losing so many pros from last year's team. They the depth guys they had have stepped up. They brought in new pieces, and like this team's loaded and primed for another big run.
Mm-hmm. So we recapped a ton and previewed a lot, and in this week, starting this week and into next week is going to be a ton of fun, and I'm excited to recap much more.
Oh yeah, same. I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. So many good games that we'll have to talk about next weekend. Just excited. College basketball is really getting rolling, and had a great feast week with all those tournaments we had last week, and so many great games this week, especially next couple of days to really be tuned in for.
Should be fun.
Yeah.